In this section, we'll configure eligible role assignments in Microsoft Entra PIM. The goal is to replace standing admin access with time-bound eligibility, so users or groups activate privilege only when needed, with scope, schedule, justification, and automatic expiry. Before we configure anything, let's connect this to the path so far. We started with IAM risk, least privilege, and zero trust. Then looked at PAM controls such as vaulting, rotation, and monitoring. Now we'll apply those ideas in Microsoft Entra by creating eligible role assignments and setting the stage for activation, MFA, approvals, audits, and reviews. An eligible role assignment is permission to request privilege, not the privilege itself. A user or group is pre-approved as eligible, but they do not have active administrative power by default. When privileged work is required, they request activation through PIM. That request can require MFA, approval, justification, and a time limit. Only after those checks pass does the role become active, and only for the approved window. This is especially important for powerful roles like Global Administrator or Security Administrator, where access must be available when needed, but exposure should stay low. The key shift is from standing privilege to just-in-time privilege. With permanent active access, an admin role is always available, which means a compromised account can quickly become a compromised environment. Eligible access changes that default. The user can request the role, but activation adds control points before privilege is granted. That small amount of friction creates time-bound access, stronger audit evidence, and fewer opportunities for token misuse or long attacker dwell time. Before creating eligible assignments, validate the foundation. PIM depends on the right prerequisites. Confirm the tenant has Microsoft Entra ID P2 licensing because that enables the full PIM feature set. Make sure the person configuring assignments has the proper authority, typically privileged role administrator or global administrator. Check identity readiness as well. Users should have strong authentication registered before they activate privileged access. Finally, agree on the role strategy, including least privilege, clear role owners, and documented reasons for access. That foundation keeps privilege from becoming unmanaged. Role selection should begin with the work the person actually needs to perform. If the task is resetting passwords, managing authentication methods, monitoring security, or administering Exchange, map that work to the matching specialized role first. Do not make Global Administrator the default answer. It has tenant-wide power and should be reserved for rare, broad configuration needs. Also consider scope. Can access be limited to a group, administrative unit, or specific workload? The target is right role, right boundary, just-in-time eligibility, and less standing risk. Eligibility should be based on operational need, not simply on request. Start with the work that must be done. Then map that work to users, groups, or ideally defined admin personas. Individual eligibility gives tight control for sensitive roles, but it can be harder to manage at scale. Group-based eligibility reduces effort only when the group itself is well governed. Personas are often the strongest pattern because they standardize access around responsibilities, such as help desk, security operations, or identity engineering. Avoid broad groups because they can turn least privilege into hidden standing access. Scope defines the boundary around a role's power. In Microsoft Entra, many directory roles can affect the entire tenant, so one assignment may reach users, groups, applications, and settings far beyond a person's real job. That makes scope just as important as the role name. If an administrator supports only a region, department, or project, use boundaries such as administrative units where appropriate. The goal is least privilege in practice. Access should match operational responsibility. When both the role and the scope are broad, require stronger business justification, approval, and periodic review. Start and end dates make privileged eligibility a controlled window instead of an open-ended entitlement. A user might become eligible when a project begins, keep that eligibility only for the approved period, and automatically lose it when the end date arrives. This is useful for migrations, audit support, temporary troubleshooting, and short-term project roles. Permanent eligibility should be the exception, reserved for ongoing operational responsibilities and supported by regular reviews. Letting access expire naturally reduces orphan privileges and keeps permissions aligned with changing business needs. To create an eligible assignment, go to the Microsoft Entra Admin Center and open Privileged Identity Management. Choose Microsoft Entra roles, then select the role you want to govern. From Assignments, add a new assignment and choose the user or group that should be eligible. Set the assignment type to eligible, select the duration that matches the business need, and enter a clear justification. Before saving, review the scope and settings so the access is time-bound, intentional, and auditable. As you complete the assignment, treat it as 4 governance decisions. Who is receiving eligibility, a user or a group? Which privileged role can they activate? Is the assignment truly eligible rather than active immediately? And how long should that eligibility exist? The schedule is not just a date field, it is a control. Use start and end dates wherever possible, and reserve permanent eligibility for cases that are explicitly justified and reviewed. Before submitting, make sure every field matches the access need. Every eligible assignment should be something you can defend later. A strong justification explains the business function, not just the permission. Admin access needed is too vague because reviewers cannot tell why it is required, who approved it, or when it should end. Better documentation names the requester, approver, role owner, duration, and context. For example, temporary user administrator eligibility for a 45-day regional help desk migration owned by IAM Operations with a June 30th review date. That evidence supports audits, access reviews, investigations, and helps prevent privilege creep. Eligible access is not a one-time configuration. It should move through a governed lifecycle. A user requests eligibility. The right approver validates the need, and the assignment is granted only when it supports the job. From there, role owners and access reviews continue asking the same question. Is this still appropriate? If someone changes teams, finishes a project, or no longer needs the role, eligibility should expire or be removed. That cycle keeps privileged access aligned with least privilege, zero trust, and compliance. PIM reduces risk only when eligibility stays tightly controlled. The common failure pattern is straightforward. Too many people, too many roles, for too long. Avoid broad, unmanaged groups, standing admin access, and permanent eligibility with no clear owner or review cycle. Start with least privilege and use a narrower role instead of global administrator whenever it meets the need. Make eligibility time-bound, document ownership, and review it regularly. Audits should look for stale assignments, duplicate privileges, and exceptions that no longer have a business justification. The main takeaway is to replace standing privileged access with eligible governed access. In PIM, that means choosing the correct role and principal, setting an appropriate duration, and capturing the business reason. It also means keeping ownership, reviews, lifecycle controls, and removals active. Next, we'll move from assignment design into activation, including MFA, approvals, and justification.